When struggling single father Marcus fixes a CEO's jet during a storm, she desperately begs him to fly her to save her company. He risks everything to help a stranger who showed him only coldness. But what he doesn't know is that she's been watching him for weeks, and this emergency isn't what it seems. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The rain hammered against the small windows of the airport hangar like angry fists. Marcus wiped the grease from his hands with an old rag, his tired eyes scanning the private jet that sat before him. At 35 he looked older than his years. The weight of raising his 7-year-old daughter Emma alone had carved lines around his eyes and gray streaks through his dark hair. "Dad, when are we going home?" Emma asked from her corner where she sat doing homework on a cardboard box. Her school bag was patched with duct tape, and her shoes had small holes that Marcus couldn't afford to fix yet. "Soon, sweetheart. I just need to finish this maintenance check," Marcus replied, forcing a smile. He had been working double shifts at the private airport for 3 months now, ever since he lost his job at the commercial airline. The pay was less, but it was better than nothing. The hangar door suddenly burst open. A woman in an expensive business suit rushed in, her heels clicking against the concrete floor. She was tall, elegant, with sharp features and perfectly styled blonde hair that somehow remained untouched by the storm outside. Behind her walked a man in a pilot's uniform, shaking his head. "I'm sorry, Miss Sterling, but I cannot fly in this weather. It's too dangerous," the pilot said firmly. Victoria Sterling, CEO of Sterling Industries, turned to face him with fire in her eyes. "I have a board meeting in Chicago in 6 hours. If I'm not there, we lose the Henderson contract. Do you understand what that means?" "I understand, ma'am, but—" "No buts," she snapped. "I pay you to fly, not to make excuses." Marcus watched the scene unfold while continuing his work. He had seen enough rich people in his 2 decades as an aircraft mechanic to know the type. They thought money could solve everything, that their problems were more important than everyone else's. The pilot shook his head again. "I'm sorry, Miss Sterling. I won't risk our lives for a meeting." He turned and walked out into the storm. Victoria stood there for a moment, her composure cracking. She looked around the hangar desperately, her eyes finally landing on Marcus. "You," she said, pointing at him. "Are you a pilot?" "No, ma'am. I'm a mechanic," Marcus replied without looking up from his work. "Then find me a pilot. Now." Marcus finally looked at her, his patience wearing thin. "Lady, it's 11 o'clock at night in the middle of a thunderstorm. Every pilot with half a brain is safe at home." Victoria's face flushed red. "Do you know who I am?" "I know you're someone who thinks yelling at people will change the weather," Marcus said calmly, returning to his work. Emma looked up from her homework, sensing the tension. Victoria noticed the little girl for the first time, her angry expression softening slightly. "Is that your daughter?" Victoria asked. "Yes. And she has school tomorrow, so if you'll excuse us." A loud crack of thunder shook the hangar, followed by a flash of lightning that lit up the sky like day. Victoria jumped, her confident mask slipping completely. "Please," she said, her voice smaller now. "I need to get to Chicago. This deal? It's everything to my company." Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Despite her arrogance, he could see genuine desperation in her eyes. "Even if I could find you a pilot, that storm isn't going anywhere for hours. You'd be better off driving. It's a 12-hour drive. I'll never make it in time." Marcus sighed. "Look, I'm sorry about your meeting, but there's nothing I can do." Victoria's shoulders sagged. For the first time in years she felt truly helpless. She had built her empire by being tough, by never showing weakness. But standing in this cold hangar, watching a man in coveralls dismiss her like she was nobody, she felt the weight of her isolation. As Victoria turned to leave, her phone rang. She answered it with shaking hands. "Victoria, where are you?" The voice on the other end was sharp, impatient. "I'm stuck at the airport, Richard. The storm." "I don't care about the storm. The Henderson deal is worth $50 million. If you're not here by morning, they're going with Patterson Industries." "I understand, but—" "No excuses, Victoria. You promised me you could handle this after your father's death. Don't make me regret trusting you." The line went dead. Victoria stared at her phone, her hands trembling. She had spent the last year proving herself as CEO after her father's sudden heart attack. Every day was a battle to earn respect in a world that saw her as nothing more than a rich man's daughter who inherited what she didn't deserve. Marcus noticed her distress and felt a pang of guilt. He had been so focused on his own problems that he hadn't considered hers might be real too. "Bad news?" he asked gently. Victoria laughed bitterly. You could say that. I'm about to lose my company. Your company? Sterling Industries. My father built it from nothing over 30 years. When he died last year, I became CEO. The board, they're looking for any excuse to replace me. This deal would prove I can do the job. Marcus felt his anger soften. He knew what it was like to have everything depending on you. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Why would you? I'm just another rich person making demands, right? The honesty in her voice surprised him. Look, I've been working on your jet for the past 2 hours. The maintenance is complete and she's ready to fly. But without a pilot. You really can't fly? Victoria asked desperately. I have a pilot's license, but I haven't flown in years. And never in weather like this. Victoria's eyes lit up. But you could do it? I said I haven't flown in years. It's too dangerous. Please. The word came out as a whisper. I'll pay you anything. Name your price. Marcus looked at Emma, who was pretending to do homework while listening to every word. He thought about the stack of unpaid bills at home, the eviction notice he had hidden from his daughter, the medication Emma needed that he couldn't afford. It's not about money, he said finally. I won't risk my daughter's life or yours for any amount of money. Victoria's phone rang again. This time it was her assistant. Miss Sterling, I have some news about the Henderson meeting. What is it, Sarah? They've moved it up. It's now scheduled for 8 a.m. instead of noon. Victoria's face went pale. That's impossible. I'll never make it. I'm sorry, ma'am. Mr. Henderson had a family emergency and needs to leave town early. Victoria hung up and sank onto a nearby crate, her head in her hands. For the first time in years she started to cry. Not the elegant tears of a woman who knew she looked beautiful when she wept, but the desperate, ugly sobs of someone who had lost everything. Marcus looked at Emma, who was staring at Victoria with wide, sympathetic eyes. His daughter had always been too kind for her own good. Dad, Emma whispered, she's really sad. I know, sweetheart. Remember what you told me about helping people when they're in trouble? Marcus closed his eyes. He had taught Emma to be compassionate, to help others even when it was difficult. Now his own daughter was reminding him of his values. The storm was starting to calm slightly, though lightning still flickered in the distance. Marcus walked over to where Victoria sat crying and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. Tell me about your father, he said softly. Victoria looked up, surprised. What? You said he built the company from nothing. What was he like? Victoria wiped her tears, confused by the question. He was the kindest man I ever knew. He started with a small construction company and grew it into one of the largest development firms in the country. But he never forgot where he came from. He used to say that success meant nothing if you didn't use it to help others. Sounds like a good man. He was. He funded scholarships for underprivileged kids, built free housing for veterans, donated millions to charity. But he did it quietly, never for recognition. Victoria's voice broke. I've spent the last year trying to fill his shoes, but I'm nothing like him. What do you mean? Look at me. I came in here screaming at people, making demands, acting like my problems were more important than everyone else's. He would have been ashamed of me. Marcus was quiet for a moment. You know, when my wife died 3 years ago, I was so angry at the world. I blamed everyone, the doctors, God, even Emma for needing me when I could barely take care of myself. It took me a long time to realize that grief makes us do things we're not proud of. How did you get through it? I had help. My neighbor Mrs. Chen watched Emma when I couldn't afford childcare. My boss at the airline gave me time off without pay. A nurse at the hospital helped me apply for financial assistance. People who didn't owe me anything chose to be kind. Victoria nodded slowly. I don't have people like that. Maybe because you haven't given them a chance to be kind to you. Victoria looked at him with new understanding. You're right. I've been so focused on being strong, on proving I don't need help, that I forgot how to let people care. Emma walked over and stood in front of Victoria. My daddy says that when people are mean, it's usually because they're scared or sad. Are you scared? Victoria looked into the little girl's innocent eyes and felt her heart break. Yes, sweetheart. I'm very scared. It's okay to be scared. Daddy was scared when Mommy died, but he got better. You'll get better too. Victoria reached out and gently touched Emma's cheek. You're very wise for such a little girl. My daddy taught me that helping people makes you feel better when you're sad. Marcus felt a lump in his throat watching his daughter comfort this stranger. He made a decision that would change all their lives. Emma, go wait in the office, he said gently. But Dad. Please, sweetheart. I need to talk to Miss Sterling alone. Emma nodded and skipped away. Marcus turned to Victoria with a serious expression. I'll fly you to Chicago. Victoria's eyes widened. What? But you said. I know what I said. But my daughter just reminded me that helping people is what makes us human. The storm is calming down and I think we can make it safely. Are you sure? I don't want you to risk. I'm sure. But I have conditions. Anything. First, Emma comes with us. I won't leave her here alone. Of course. Second, if at any point I think it's too dangerous, we turn back. No arguments. Agreed. And third. Marcus hesitated. If we do this, if I help you save your company, I want you to remember what your father taught you about helping others. Victoria looked at him with tears in her eyes. I promise. An hour later they were in the air. The storm had mostly passed, leaving behind a clear, star-filled sky. Marcus sat in the pilot's seat, his hands steady on the controls despite years away from flying. Victoria sat beside him, amazed by his skill and confidence. Emma was in the back, wide-eyed with wonder as she looked out the window at the lights below. She had never been on a plane before, let alone a private jet. This is amazing, Emma exclaimed. Dad, look how small everything looks. Marcus smiled, remembering his own first flight 20 years ago. Pretty incredible, isn't it? Miss Sterling, have you ever seen anything so beautiful? Emma asked. Victoria looked out the window, but her eyes were on Marcus's reflection in the glass. Yes, she said softly. I have. As they flew through the night, Victoria found herself opening up about her life. She talked about the pressure of running a company, the loneliness of being at the top, the constant fear that she wasn't good enough. I have everything anyone could want, she said, but I don't have anyone to share it with. No friends, no family except distant relatives who only call when they need money. I've been so focused on proving myself that I forgot how to be human. Marcus listened without judgment. It's never too late to change. Is it? I'm 42 years old and I don't think I have a single real friend in the world. You have us now, Emma piped up from the back seat. Victoria turned to smile at the little girl. Do I? Of course. Right, Dad? Marcus caught Victoria's eye and nodded. Right. They flew in comfortable silence for a while, each lost in their own thoughts. As they approached Chicago, Marcus began the descent procedures. We'll be landing in 20 minutes, he announced. Victoria checked her watch. It was 6:30 a.m., they would make it with time to spare. Marcus, I don't know how to thank you. You've saved my company. Just remember your promise. I will. But I want to do more than that. I want to offer you a job. Marcus was surprised. What kind of job? Chief of Aircraft Maintenance for Sterling Industries. We have a fleet of 12 jets. The salary is 3 times what you're making now, plus benefits, plus housing allowance. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Dad. Emma shouted from the back. Then we can afford to fix my shoes. Marcus laughed, but his eyes were serious. Victoria, you don't need to do this. I helped you because it was the right thing to do, not because I expected anything in return. I know. That's exactly why I want to do it. You showed me kindness when I didn't deserve it. You risked your life for a stranger. That's the kind of person I want working for me. Marcus was quiet for a moment. What about Emma? I can't afford childcare and she can come to work with you. We'll set up a space for her to do homework, and we'll get her enrolled in the best school in the district. But, Marcus, please, let me help you the way you helped me. Marcus looked back at Emma, who was practically bouncing with excitement. He thought about the eviction notice, the unpaid bills, the medication Emma needed. For the first time in years he felt hope. Okay, he said finally. Yes. They landed in Chicago just as the sun was rising. Victoria had managed to freshen up during the flight, and she looked every inch the successful CEO as she prepared for her meeting. I wish I could take you both with me, she said as they stood beside the jet. We'll be fine, Marcus assured her. There's a diner across the street. Emma and I will get some breakfast and wait for you. Victoria hesitated. What if I mess this up? What if I'm not good enough? You are good enough, Marcus said firmly. You're James Sterling's daughter, and you're going to make him proud. Victoria smiled, feeling more confident than she had in months. She hugged Emma goodbye and shook Marcus's hand. Thank you, she said. For everything. Go get him, boss, Marcus replied with a grin. Victoria walked toward the building where her future waited. As she entered the conference room, she saw the executives from Henderson Corporation sitting around a large table. They looked skeptical, as if they had already decided against her. Gentlemen, Victoria said, taking her seat at the head of the table. Thank you for accommodating the early meeting time. For the next 2 hours, Victoria presented her proposal with passion and conviction. She spoke about her father's vision, about Sterling Industries' commitment to quality and community service. She talked about the scholarship program they would fund, the jobs they would create, the positive impact on local communities. But most importantly, she spoke from the heart. She told them about meeting a single father who worked 2 jobs to support his daughter, about the kindness of strangers, about the importance of helping others succeed. When she finished, the room was silent. Then, slowly, Mr. Henderson began to clap. The other executives joined in. Ms. Sterling, Henderson said, that was the most compelling presentation I've heard in 30 years of business. You have a deal. Victoria felt tears of joy in her eyes. Thank you, sir. You won't regret this. As she left the building, she found Marcus and Emma waiting by the jet. Emma was wearing a new pair of shoes. Dad bought them for me, Emma announced proudly. He said we're going to be okay now. Victoria looked at Marcus with surprise. You went shopping? Marcus blushed. I couldn't stand seeing those holes in her shoes anymore. I figured with the new job I could afford it. How did the meeting go? Emma asked. Victoria knelt down to Emma's level. It went perfectly. And do you know why? Why? Because your daddy taught me something very important. He taught me that being successful isn't about having the most money or the biggest office. It's about how you treat people, especially when they can't do anything for you. Emma grinned. My daddy is really smart. Yes, he is. 3 months later, Marcus was settling into his new job at Sterling Industries. He loved the work and Emma was thriving in her new school. They had moved into a beautiful apartment that Victoria had helped them find, and for the first time in years, Marcus felt like he could breathe. Victoria had become a regular part of their lives. She would stop by the hangar to check on the jets, but Marcus suspected she really came to see them. She had taken Emma shopping for school clothes, attended her parent-teacher conferences, and even helped with homework. One evening, as Marcus was finishing up his work, Victoria appeared in the hangar with a nervous expression. Marcus, can I talk to you for a minute? Sure. What's on your mind? Victoria took a deep breath. I have something to tell you and I'm not sure how you're going to react. Marcus felt his stomach drop. What is it? Do you remember when I told you about my father's charity work? Yes. Well, I've been looking into the hospital where your wife was treated. I wanted to make a donation in her memory. Marcus felt touched. Victoria, you don't need to. Let me finish. While I was there, I met with the head of the cancer research department, Dr. Martinez. Marcus nodded, remembering the kind doctor who had cared for his wife. Marcus, there's something about your wife's case that you need to know. The insurance company that denied her treatment. They made a mistake. A big one. What do you mean? They classified her condition incorrectly. She should have been approved for the experimental treatment immediately. If she had received it. Victoria's voice trailed off. Marcus stared at her in shock. Are you saying? I'm saying that the insurance company's negligence may have cost your wife her life. And I'm also saying that you have grounds for a lawsuit that could result in significant compensation. Marcus sat down heavily on a nearby crate. I don't understand. Why didn't anyone tell me this before? Because no one bothered to look. The insurance company buried the paperwork, and the hospital was too busy to investigate. It wasn't until I hired a team of lawyers to review the case that the truth came out. How much compensation are we talking about? Victoria handed him a folder. According to my lawyers, somewhere between $5 and $10 million. Marcus's hands shook as he opened the folder. The numbers on the page seemed impossible. Victoria, I don't know what to say. There's more. The insurance company has already agreed to settle out of court. They don't want the publicity. You could have the money within a month. Marcus looked at the papers, then at Victoria. What? Why would you do this for me? Because 3 months ago, a man who barely knew me risked his life to help me save my company. He didn't ask for anything in return. He just did it because it was right. But this is different. This is justice, Marcus. Your wife deserved better, and so did you and Emma. Marcus felt tears in his eyes. I can't accept this. Yes, you can. And you will. Because that little girl deserves to have her college education paid for, and you deserve to never worry about money again. Just then, Emma burst into the hangar, home from her after-school program. Dad. Miss Victoria. Guess what I learned today? What's that, sweetheart? Marcus asked, wiping his eyes. I learned that when good people help each other, Amazing things happen. Like in fairy tales but in real life. Victoria and Marcus exchanged a look and started laughing. What's so funny? Emma asked. Nothing, sweetheart, Marcus said, picking her up and spinning her around. You're just very, very wise. 6 months later, Marcus was a millionaire, but he still showed up to work every day. He had used part of the settlement money to start a foundation in his wife's name, providing financial assistance to families dealing with cancer. Victoria had insisted on matching his donation. One evening, as they were closing up the hangar, Victoria seemed nervous about something. Marcus, I need to tell you something and I hope you won't be angry. What now? Marcus asked with a smile. Are you going to tell me I'm secretly a prince or something? Victoria didn't laugh. Do you remember the night we met? When your pilot walked out on you? Of course. That pilot? His name was Jake Morrison. He's worked for my company for 5 years. Okay. Marcus, Jake didn't refuse to fly because of the weather. He refused because I told him to. Marcus stared at her. What? I have been watching you work on the jets for weeks. I knew you were struggling, that you were a single father working 2 jobs. I also knew you were an excellent pilot. I had looked up your records. Victoria, what are you saying? I'm saying that the whole thing was set up. The emergency meeting, the storm, Jake refusing to fly, it was all planned. Marcus felt like the ground was shifting under his feet. You're telling me that none of it was real? The meeting was real. The storm was real. But I could have taken a commercial flight the next morning. I manufactured the crisis because I wanted to help you, but I knew you wouldn't accept charity. So you lied to me? Yes. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Why are you telling me this now? Because I can't live with the lie anymore. And because... Victoria took a deep breath. Because I'm in love with you and I want to start fresh with the truth. Marcus sat down hard on a nearby crate. You're in love with me? I have been since that first night. You were the first person in years to see me as a human being instead of a bank account. You helped me when I was at my lowest point and you asked for nothing in return. But everything we built together, it's all based on a lie. No, Victoria said firmly. It's based on truth. The truth is that you're a good man who deserves better than the hand life dealt you. The truth is that you raised an incredible daughter who sees the best in everyone. The truth is that you saved my company and my soul, even if you didn't know it at the time. Marcus looked at her for a long moment. You manipulated me. Yes, I did. And I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry for the results. Are you? Marcus thought about the past 6 months. Emma was happy and healthy, attending a school where she was thriving. He had a job he loved, financial security, and the ability to help other families like his own. And Victoria? Victoria had become his best friend, his confidant, the person he looked forward to seeing every day. No, he said finally. I'm not sorry for the results. But I'm hurt that you lied to me. I understand. And if you can't forgive me, I'll accept that. But I had to tell you the truth. Marcus stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the planes on the tarmac. You know what the funny thing is? What? I probably would have said yes anyway. If you had just asked me to help you, told me you were struggling, I would have helped. I know. That's what makes you special. Marcus turned back to her. Victoria, I need you to promise me something. Anything. No more lies. No more manipulation. If we're going to do this, whatever this is, we do it honestly. I promise. And you need to understand something. I'm not looking for someone to rescue me. I'm looking for a partner. Someone who will walk beside me, not behind me or in front of me. Victoria smiled. I wouldn't have it any other way. 1 year later, Marcus and Victoria were married in a small ceremony in the hangar where they first met. Emma was the flower girl, and she had insisted on wearing her new shoes, the ones Marcus had bought her that morning in Chicago. Victoria had learned to balance her role as CEO with her role as a stepmother. She attended Emma's school plays, helped with homework, and even learned to braid hair, though she wasn't very good at it. Marcus had expanded his foundation, and they were now helping dozens of families each year. Victoria had restructured Sterling Industries to focus more on community development and social responsibility, just as her father had always envisioned. The night of their wedding, as they stood in the same hangar where their story began, Victoria took Marcus's hand. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had never met? She asked. Sometimes, Marcus replied. But then I remember that we were both exactly where we needed to be that night. You needed someone to remind you how to be human, and I needed someone to remind me that it's okay to let people help. Your wife would have been proud of you, Victoria said softly. She would have loved you too. And Emma adores you. I never thought I'd be a mother. You're a great one. Victoria smiled. I had a good teacher. Emma ran up to them, still in her flower girl dress. Are you two being mushy again? Yes, they said in unison. Good, Emma said, hugging them both. Because mushy parents are the best kind. As they stood there together, surrounded by the planes that had brought them together, Marcus thought about the journey that had led them to this moment. It had started with a storm, a desperate woman, and a man who chose kindness over bitterness. But it had become something beautiful, a family built on truth, love, and the understanding that the best things in life happen when we choose to help each other, even when we don't have to. The hangar was quiet now, but it was filled with love, laughter, and the promise of tomorrow. And in the distance, storm clouds were gathering again, but this time they weren't something to fear. They were just another adventure waiting to happen. Victoria looked at her husband and stepdaughter, and for the first time in her life she felt truly wealthy. Not because of the money in her bank account, but because of the love in her heart. Marcus squeezed her hand and smiled. Ready for the next adventure, Mrs. Sterling? Ready, she replied. As long as we're together. And as they walked out of the hangar together, Emma skipping between them, the storm clouds parted to reveal a sky full of stars, each one a promise of the bright future that lay ahead.